Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony and I'm building another tank. It's the M26 Pershing tank from Armortek, 1:6 scale full metal kit. And when I left off last time, we'd finished all the detailing on the top hull section, and then I completed some of the detailing on the rear plate, put the motors in so I could actually get that far and get to a point where I could complete it. So since then I've done a bit more mock welding, did a lot of cleaning up of the top hull section, and it's now painted and I'm really pleased with the results. It hasn't been weathered yet, it's just got its main base coat of the green olive drab, and I'm really pleased with the coverage of it, and I'll show you that very shortly. So really the next stage is quite an exciting stage for me. It's the turret and all the detailing that goes with the turret and all the challenges that come with this amazing piece of kit. So what I'll do now is I'll just come over and I'll show you the tank. It's got its paint finish on it. I'm really pleased with how it all sort of looks. And we've got the turret and it's test fitted on top. It hasn't been fixed down. Nothing's been fixed just yet. Everything's loose because inevitably I have to get it all off to be able to finish off all the electronics and all the various gubbins that goes inside to bring this amazing thing to life. So now this turret is the first time I've seen it since I opened it in the box. I forgot how big it is. It's huge. And it looks incredible, but there's some work to be done to it. There's a bit of cleaning up. There's a lot of sharp edges, so be really careful when you're handling this. And it does tell you that on the instructions, and it's quite well marked on the bottom of the underside of this turret that it's got sharp edges. So some cleaning up to do. There's some cleaning up to do with the sort of overcasting parts on here. So it just needs a little bit of work, and then what we can do is we can start looking at getting the detail built, the coupler and all the hatches and all the other various bits and pieces, and ultimately mounting the main gun on. So probably not going to get that far today, but we'll get this off and then we'll take a good look at it and give it a good old clean. So this is it. It's amazing. Now this is the thing, right? It is got very sharp edges, and it does warn you about that. So Armortek are quite good in letting you know that, you know, you could end up inadvertently cutting yourselves. You can see the size of this thing, and it actually weighs a small weight. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just reset the camera, and I'll do some cleaning up of this, and then we'll get detailing. So, and we'll see how it turns out. Really excited about this stage. Right, so just about ready to get going, and what we're going to do here is really just remove all these really sharp edges, and I'm going to use a mixture of my deburring tool, some files. Going to spin it around, have a good look at it, and see what the parts that need to be cleaned up. And anyway, before I do that, I've got to give a shout out to my brother Robert. Rob, I didn't realise you're one of my biggest fans, mate, and thanks for that. I love you, mate, and belated birthday wishes to you. Anyway, we'll get cracking. He was disappointed that I haven't mentioned it. I didn't realise you were following me, mate, but anyway, I love you, thanks. So let's get this started. So obviously you've got some sharp edges around here. This is quite sharp, so I'm just going to use my deburring tool just to take that off. Straight away, softens it straight away. Just be careful, don't want to damage it or anything untoward. Mate, just it's all part and parcel of it. I can't believe I'm actually handling this thing. That's really sharp. It's quite a satisfying thing to do, this. Just takes that nasty sharp edge off. So that's as quick as that. That's done. Spin it over. Oh yeah, that's very sharp. Brilliant little tool, this. Straight away, that just softens that edge. I'm really pleased with the way the paint jobs come out on the tank, and I will do some weathering on it, but I'm just keen to get everything painted and then weather it all at the same time. That's actually taken that edge off quite nicely. I'm only just going to take off the bits. You can probably see that as I'm using this tool, those sharp edges coming off, and that's really good. So then there's some bits, so the casting part, there's some elements I can just about see. It's probably hard for you to see, but let's see if I can do it. There's some elements here which I can see. There's a little bit, yeah, I can feel it as well. So that's going to need some filing, and I've got a circular file. Hopefully we'll do this. Sorry about the noise. It's just in those corners. I have a feeling because I think the gun block needs to go in there without any hindrance. Good time to make yourself a cup of tea while I'm doing this. Almost there. Because it's cast aluminium, it's actually really nice and easy to work with. So just having a look, I'm going to go and get the main gun block and see how well that fits in there, and that's fine. It doesn't catch, doesn't snatch. This actually works quite well. Just make sure. Yeah, so that's good. I'll put that away. So I think as quick as that, we're done. So I mean, you know, it's just brilliant. Just a brilliant thing to hold and to feel. So what we'll do now is probably start with the coupler, build the coupler, and then take it from there and start building up the detail. So I'll be right back with you. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is assemble this coupler, or certainly most of it, before we put it onto the main turret. So you have 6 of these little plastic clear periscope viewing panels, and I've already just put a bit of masking tape over the top of that. Just makes life a little bit easier when it comes to paint it. And they just simply super glue in. Just make sure that the angle is, you see that there's an angle on it. Make sure that that follows the same angle as the angle of the periscope. And what I'm doing is I'm putting these in from behind, so just I'm going to double check that I've got the right angle, and I do. Just going to put a little bit of, I think I'm mad with this, just a little bit of super glue. And then I'm going to pop that in there, and then and that's in. You see that? Sorry. So that's in. Just do the same as we go around. Again, just making sure that the angle's right. I wouldn't put them in this way. It's a lot easier to put them in this way. So you can use your little mallet if you've got one. And I'm just putting these in flush. It looks right according to the instructions. Again, just make sure that it's a very easy and simple mistake to make, not, you know, putting the angle in the wrong way. So just make sure you got that the right way. And then, as I said, if you can do it, get the masking tape on ahead of putting them in. Certainly a lot easier than trying to put the masking tape on when they're in situ. They have to sit flush because this sits down tight on the top of the turret. I'm just checking, making sure that I've done exactly what I'm trying to avoid, you know, or make sure I don't put it in the wrong way. So that's in the right way. Happy with that, so that will go in that way. And it's incredible to think that I'm actually on this stage of the journey already. I mean, there's a while to go, because just bringing this to life is going to be challenging. So that's that. That's your main coupler ring installed with the clear periscope viewers. And then we have, now actually there's a couple of things that they tell you on here. There's two fixings here. They say trim these two to length and Loctite in place. Not sure why, but there must be a reason. I think it must be to do with possibly the gun elevator clashing with it. So I will do that, and then I'll glue them, and then I'll let them set, and I'll get my Dremel out and I'll trim those, just to give you a heads up. So next thing I want to do is this little hinge. It's made up of two little hinge brackets like that. A rod that passes through. I think that might have to go through this as well, so I'm just going to make sure that this fits, and as always it's tight. Don't want to be hammering the granny out of this when you're doing that, so I'm just going to see if I can clean this up a little bit. You don't want it to be too tight, but you certainly don't want it to be too loose either. But tight is not good, because you want it to open and close without too much fuss. So this is going to need a little bit more work. A mini file. Just work these holes. Slowly start working this through, see if it's gonna. Yeah, I don't want that to be too tight. I want this to be fairly sort of loose, but I don't want. I mean, to me that's too tight. I know I can drive that through, but I want it to be, because I can put a little bit of thread locker on that, and then it sort of gives this thing. I want this to open nice and easy. So, a bit more work required. Feeling better. Still more work to be done, I think. That's kind of how I want it to be on both sides. So let's work this side up a bit more. That's better. That feels better. The other side. Yeah. That's how I want it to be. So that's that. Just want to make sure it passes through these okay, and it do. And look at it, the instructions. These obviously fit on the screw holes here, and you've got a 20mm countersunk M3 fixing that goes to the underside like so. I think a bit of thread locker is required on this. Position this. Again, don't know why, but as soon as that camera goes on, I'll lose all my tools, and There we go. Just tighten that up. Just aligning that, make sure it is right. Looks about right. Right, so that's... I remember getting to this kind of stage when I was building a Tiger, and I was thinking I'm almost, it's kind of sad because I'm coming to the end of it, but actually there was a bit of a journey beyond that. So I'm just going to use that to straighten those up. These need to be perfectly aligned. So that's the little hinge brackets in position. Then this, you can see that that's probably going to need a bit of work because that doesn't fit on there, so that's going to need some work. What I'm going to do is just use the file just to take a bit of that off. See if that goes in there now. Goes in there now. Seems to sit quite well. As I said, I want this to be fairly not loose, but I want it to be, I don't want it to bind or be difficult to operate. I think that's about where we want that to be. And then there's a pin that goes through, as you know, goes through the full extent of that. And again, with the camera on, this is going to be fun. That's that, goes through there, just and then use the side of my bench. Sorry, it's out of camera. And that's it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a little bit of thread locker on the end of this, and all that does is just stops that pin from travelling. I'll just get that so it runs down the edges. Actually, you don't want the pin to be glued, you just want it to stop riding, and that'll be enough with that. Just as it gets into the little gap there to do its job. And then finally with this, now I'm really pleased the way that opens. I want that to be loose because I eventually will have a commanding or a tank commander in this position, and I just think that if you have this too tight, it's going to potentially just going to look wrong, I guess. However, saying that, I mean, obviously when that's on the tank it could, well, it remains to be seen, really. But okay, so the last thing we've got here now is a little handle that goes on the coupler lid, like so. I want that to be equal distance, and you also want it to be of a reasonable size so you can get hold of it. So I'm saying that that's pretty much where I want that to be. What I'm going to do now is super glue that from the other side. And that will hold that. That is your coupler. Right, so just about to put the coupler onto the main turret. I've glued and I've cut the two fixings that they ask you to, which is next to this hinge here, so be mindful of that. And then I'm just going to locate those. There's a little bit of a lug left over, and I can see that all these screws line up perfectly. Now these are the 25mm slotted screws. I want to try and get these so I dress them. and they have a corresponding M3 nut that goes on them. So I'm going to put one on, and then I'm going to see, well, I'm going to spin the tank round so it makes it easier to put the rest on. So I just want to try and, this is the fun bit, so I'm going to turn this up on its side so I can get to that. A little bit of thread locker on that. And then tighten that up. But then what I want to do is get this back down on its flat surface, and then using a small flathead screw, I'm using an electrical screwdriver obviously, and I'm just going to try and turn that screw so it's dressed, so that they're all kind of dressed the same, you know, and just as an array as they come round. Now, to stop that thing from continually opening, the copula, just going to mask that off. And attempt to stop it from swinging open. Probably not the best tape to use, but anyway, so we'll go again. So another screw through to the underside of the turret. Bit of thread locker. Let's see if I can show you that. I'm just going to do this coupler, and then I'm going to sort of build the rest of it, but I'm going to speed the whole thing up because it's really, from what I can see, it's relatively straightforward. So we'll get this on. Put another one through. Just dress that screw while I can. I think it's important to do something like that because when it's all painted, I want it to look the part. And just a little bit of consideration when you're doing the flathead screws. I mean, when I build furniture and things like that, I always dress the screws. It just makes it look a whole lot different, and it also shows that, you know, a level of care and consideration was put into it. So I'm just going to turn that. So I'll just move that back round for a minute. You are going to, that tape is clearly not doing a good job of that. Use a bit of electrical tape. Bit Heath Robinson, but it will do the job. Stops this from opening up, flying open. This is good stuff because it's stretchy, does the job. Right, so that'll do while I'm working on that. Just making sure that the screws are all dressed, and they are. Finish these off. You can see that, probably not the best camera shot, Tom, but hopefully you get the idea. There's a lot of parts that go onto this turret. At the moment, my plan is to assemble as much of it as possible and then have a look and see what could be affected by painting. For instance, there's some tracks to go on which I haven't actually painted the spare tracks, so that's something I need to do. But I will put the main holders on. And get those painted ahead of doing the spare track links. Just keep dressing these screws. That's it. And then once I've done this, we'll go ahead and do the other hatch and all the other various pieces. Now what I also have gone ahead and bought from Armortek. David over at Armortek is an incredible, talented guy who makes a lot of parts for these metal tanks. And I've got the 50 cal machine gun, which needs to be built. There's probably a whole session in its own right, that. And I'll just show you. Sort of just, it comes in a very smart little box, like so. It has the main gun. It's got the mount, and then various other metal parts and some 3D printed parts as well. So that I'm showing you this now because part of this. Dressing the turret with accessories is the gun mount, and it's quite an important piece, and I've just made sure that that still fits, and it does. So what I'll do now is we'll crack on. I'll carry on, and then I'll just ask Ben to speed the whole thing up.
Me awake, bring me back to reality. Head on my pillow, but I'm not getting any slave. The world's been waiting, where were you? Everything you want, waiting for you, you. All that's left to do is left to you. The world is waiting, where are you? Looking for a sign, we can't find you. Buried in the sands of passing time, with racing thoughts running through my mind. I see my future in black and white, all of my colors fading over time. Oh, shake me away.
so that's the turret pretty much done. Very straightforward in comparison to some of the other parts of this build, but really straightforward. That's why I thought I'd speed the whole thing up. The only thing I haven't done so far is that there's a row of dome head slotted screws that go along this elevation here on the gun mantlet here. And the reason why I've left that out for now is I'm going to see if I can convince my wife to help me with that, because I'm going to see if I can make a canvas protector to go over that like they would do in the original tank. So I'm not in a rush to do that, because I'm not going to be painting this just yet, because the next step for this is we'll have to mount the gun, the main gun, which will be the next session. And then once that's on and we've got that installed, we've got to obviously paint the barrel and make sure the sleeve works. So obviously you've got a sleeve and a barrel. Let's see if I can get this in this shot. So that's the barrel there, and it's tapered, and there's a flat spot here, and this sleeve actually fits perfect on here. And I think even once it's painted, because obviously I want that to recoil, same issue I have with the Tiger. I actually replaced the one on the Tiger with a brass one, but I'm quite happy with this. This is working quite nice. So I'm going to have to get that painted and make sure that this all works still. So we'll pop that away for now. So the next step really for me is I'm just going to put this back on the tank, and I'll show you that in a moment. But yeah, it's just to get the gun mounted. But ahead of that, there's lots of areas, especially around these flat steel pieces here, that I'm going to do some dummy welding, because I think it needs it to finish it off. So I'll be doing that away from camera. Some welding around here, some welding around all these elements here, all these little hooks and what have you. So there's a bit of work to do there, and then I'll obviously do some welding around the back of this as well, and then it's ready effectively for painting when when we get around to painting it. So what I'll do now is I'll just take this, pop it back onto the tank so you can see what it looks like on the actual tank, and then I'll do my final piece to camera. So that's today's session done, and as you know, it was all about the turret today and getting this amazing kit finished and looking as awesome as you can imagine. So it's back on the tank now. All of its accessories are on the turret. Everything works as it should. All the little hatches. I've got some details to do on this. I want to put some welding on this part here. There's some welding around all of these bits really, just to bring them up to scratch. And I've got what else have I got to do on this? Well, obviously got to do the gun barrel, which will be the next session, and at some point I will be painting some of the sort of track links to go in this, and doing some more detailing as far as the aerials are concerned, and the 50 cal machine gun, which will eventually sit up here. So that is it for today. Hope you've enjoyed that session. I'm really pleased how it's gone. I can't believe I'm almost at the final sort of hurdles, if you like, of this build. Still a way to go. There's still some detailing to do. There's still I've got to get the mud guards, well, I've got to get the tracks back on, get the mud guards assembled, well, installed, get the side skirts put on. All of this has to be painted, of course, and when it's all painted, it's got to be weathered. So there's still a bit of work to do, but it just seems as if we've made a huge leap forward in today's session. So if you are following me and you're building one of these, and you're finding it at the very early stages and you're getting a bit frustrated, it doesn't take long before you get into this position. So just want to say thank you if you're continuing to follow me. Love all your comments and all your support. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and come with me on the final part of this journey, because at the end of it, when it's all done and dusted, I am going to put the Tiger and the Persian in a face-off video, and we'll have some fun with that and some pyrotechnics and everything else. But until next time, that's me, Tony, building another tank, and I'll see you real soon. Thank you.